I learned my partner is a married man with another family living in our holiday house. Tom and I had what many referred to as a happy marriage. We had been together for almost 10 years, enjoying a stunning house, a broad social life, and bringing up 2 children who were everything to us. Tom was doing great in his business, so I trusted that we had built everything on a reliable ground of honesty and commitment, even though his frequent and long travels put a strain on the relationship. As a relaxation from our busy lifestyle, we purchased an additional house by a lake a few years after our wedding. We would spend a few weeks there every summer making amazing memories with the kids fishing, swimming, or toasting marshmallows over the fire. It was indeed our slice of heaven, representing the best of us. Tom would go there alone whenever he felt overwhelmed with work because he needed some time alone to process. I never questioned it. I understood how stressful his job was and assumed he needed that in order to de-stress. In addition, I had my own career and was busy with the children. He and I established a pattern in which sometimes he spent a weekend with the kids at the lake house and I stayed home. I never had any reason to think that something was wrong. As I said, in the end, there began to emerge a number of strange occurrences. It started with an unfamiliar phone call. When was the last time I took a shower and my phone had left my kitchen counter? For some odd reason, I stood right next to the phone and out of habit picked up the device. A message notification had buzzed, and in true style the screen had message preview that read, "When are you coming back? The kids misses you." The sender's name was simply S. That was fresh. I couldn't hop aboard to the team of knew all of Tom's friends, colleagues, and family members. His uncle once told me that he would never send a message of that sort. As I felt a pile of unease wash over me, I settled upon the answer that there was no way forward for me. Perhaps it was a message misplaced, or plainly a poorly executed joke. With the seed of uncertainty sown, my mind didn't take long to run wild. I didn't go on to pan out a hypothesis, but an entire full-fledged narrative. For the next couple of weeks, I recall noting the other peculiarity in receipts of groceries and household items in a town near our vacation home, not quite matching up with the trips he claimed to have been in that particular time frame. The question that arose in my mind, was there more than met the eye when it came to his solitary weekends at the lake house? Congrats on subscribing to our channel. You'll never miss our most riveting stories. However, if you're not a follower, you might never see them again, which really sucks. Tom mentioned he was driving to his lake house again this Friday evening and told me he was going there to relax. As he was talking, I nodded my head while my mind steered towards different directions. After he left, I did something out of the ordinary. I grabbed a bag, dialed my mother to pick the kids, and headed to the vacation home without informing Tom. Worst case scenario, I would simply end up surprising him and would have a good laugh about how delusional I was. But if my assumptions were correct, it was a long, stressful drive. I could feel the tension in my body as I drove through the swerve-filled roads to the lake house. After reaching the destination, I opted to park far and walk to the house to be discreet. The lights were on, and I could hear muffled sounds of people chatting and laughing. I peeked through a side window as my heart raced, and I developed more anxiety. What I saw shocked me. Tom was sitting relaxed on the couch in the living room. Next to him, a woman I didn't recognize was seated. The two of them were conversing, and the way they smiled at each other made my stomach twist. But it wasn't just the two. There were children, 2 of them, who were playing on the ground. They were calling him Daddy. I stepped back, my brain spinning. My husband had a secret family? Instead of just going to the lake house to escape, he was living a double life? I was frustrated, betrayed, and shocked all at once. For how long has this been happening? How did he manage to hide this from me? From the corner where the cameras were placed, I could see Tom kissing the woman on the cheek as he pulled her closer and wrapped his arm around her. So, this woman was able to lean into him so comfortably because this was a daily occurrence for her. This is not just a one-time thing. It's a whole new way of life for him. He's been living 2 lives, being a committed husband and father to 2 families. I did not know how long I spent there, frozen in disbelief. In but a single second, my world had splintered. The man I shared my life with was a complete stranger. I thought I knew him. He would come home late and tell me that he was working in the weekends at the lake house. Those were all lies. As I backed away from the window, my hands began to tremble. I wanted to confront him head on, but something stopped me. I knew there was a reason that he was behaving that way, and I could see the full scope of this once I took a moment. If I bursted in now, it would cause chaos, which is why I needed to take control of the situation instead. I ended up slipping back into my car to get away as fast as I could. At home, I couldn't fall asleep. Anger, sadness, and disbelief mixed in my head. How could he do this to me, to my children? The man I thought I knew and the life I thought we had was nothing more than an elaborate deception. For the next few days, I was in a fog, trying to comprehend the enormity of my discovery for the sake of my children. I could not confront him without a plan, and I needed more information. Over the next few weeks, I transformed into a detective, and the pieces of the life he hid away from me started to appear. This man was funding the lavish lifestyle on a second set of payments. There were payments for a second house, which was located not very far from the vacation house. I found receipts for families' outings, school fees, and grocery bills. With every dig, the truth got clearer and clearer. This was not an unplanned brief affair, but a years-long calculated betrayal. I learned that the woman's name was Sarah when checking certain records. She was noted as the co-owner of the second house, and the kids were registered in a local school with a teacher who had Tom's surname. He had built an entirely different life with her, one in which he assumed the role of a loving father and husband like he did with me. I found photos of their life on social media. They were living the same life he used to live with us. But there was one detail that gave a chill down my spine. According to the dates on their marriage certificate, Tom married Sarah a year before we even met. I wasn't just the wife he cheated on. I became the other woman in this case. The revelation completely blindsided me. All these years, I had been a side course in the dish he served, which represented the harsh reality he painted. First, he married Sarah, then at a random point, he decided to build a life with me while keeping his first family. He lied from the start and fabricated a tale so twisted that it had captured not only me but our children as well. I knew that I had to face him, but it had to be on my terms. It wasn't going to be possible for me to just shout and start an argument. I had to make sure that I methodically dismantled his web of lies. I had to reveal him for what he really was, a crook, a con man, and the core of the problem. I took it upon myself to prepare. I collected all the evidence he had left, his financial records, pictures, marriage certificates, documents which proved that he had built 2 lives and cheated his way through them. When weekend came, I was fully prepared. I had made sure the kids had gone over to some friend's place and made my stand. Whatever he did or said next would firmly decide if we were getting a divorce or not. He returned home as if nothing had ever happened, and I made sure to sit him down at the kitchen table. He glanced towards me as if aware of the suspense in the room. "What's going on?" he muttered, trying to act oblivious to the situation. I took him a deep breath while trying to manage my anger that was screaming for the surface. "I know about Sarah," I said with an icy tone. "I know about the kids, the house, everything." There was a moment of silence as I could see sheer panic glazing his eyes. But once again, just like a practiced liar, he was able to compose himself. "I can explain," was all he could muster, and before he could say anything else I cut him off. "Explain?" I asked incredulously. "How do you explain to an individual how you have been deceiving them for the duration of your marriage? How do you explain how another family resides in our vacation home?" He attempted to form words, but I was furious, and I refused to be interrupted. With great intention, I placed all the proof I had on incriminating him right on the table: receipts, documents, and photographs. "You were chasing a delusion, Tom. A delusion that succumbs everything we worked hard to create." He remained there, motionless, gazing at the fragments of evidence, the fake mask worn to cover his emotions gradually shattering. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," he whispered in an emotionless tone. I never meant for you to learn about this in such a way." It fueled my anger even more. "You didn't mean for me to figure it out? That's what you regret? Not the betrayal, not the lies, but instead because your idealistic life is unraveling." With a deep breath, he raked his hand through his hair looking lost and defeated. "I love you both," he said quietly. I didn't know how to choose. My whole body tensed as I froze in pure shock. "Us?" I mirrored. "You don't love any of us. If that were true, you would not have built our lives surrounding lies." In that moment, it became abundantly clear to me that there was no remedy for how I felt. Don't imagine that what he did had any sort of justification or an excuse. The pain he has put me through, for a sick game where he played kings to his warped chessboard, was unacceptable. It's relieving to understand that none of this was real. Why did he even do this? And for what? He stood there, looking lifeless. The tension was too much for him. "You need to get out," I ordered, albeit with immense difficulty. "Pack your stuff and go. I don't care where, but you can't stay here." Defeated, he gave me a nod as if he was about to say something but stayed mum. Looking at him, I understood. There was no salvaging this, he thought to himself. It is over. He turned to walk away, and that was the last I saw of him. A complete shell of who he once was. The process of filing for a divorce was utterly exhausting. Beginning the settling process while trying to mitigate family interactions was a tactical nightmare. With our parting, the shocking wave that would spread among our friends and family is incomprehensible. To many, this was unbelievable, while to some it was too surreal. My children have always been my primary concern. I always protected them as much as I could, providing them with a semblance of normalcy and stability amidst the chaos. One of the most brutal tasks I had to engage in was trying to explain everything to them. I did my best to explain everything that was going on step by step while assuring them none of it was their fault. They were caught up in their father's web of lies and were innocent victims in this ordeal. As for Tom, he went out and disappeared completely. There were whispers that Sarah had left him, which left him reeling. I didn't care. It did not matter how much of a stranger he had turned into. He was no longer the man I had once loved so deeply, instead a monster who came to reveal his true self. At the end of the day, I put everything back together. That does not mean it was easy putting together the gigantic puzzle that is my life. The self-inflicted wounds of betrayal are deep, but I wanted to rise above. With the help of therapy, support of my friends, and most importantly the love of my children made it bearable. With time, hope, and determination we were able to welcome a new life no longer haunted by his deception. Now I understand that trust is easily broken. Even the people closest to us can hide truths that can shatter our world. However, I also understand that I am stronger than I ever thought I was. I walked away from the shattering of my marriage, and in the process, I took back my life which was heavily tied to the lie that shackled me.